Hi everybody, in this video today we're going to be talking about Unit 2, still talking about angles, and Lesson 2.5 is talking about angle pairs. And so when we say angle pairs, there are actually three pairs that we are going to be talking about. And so those three pairs are adjacent angles, complementary angles, and supplementary angles. So adjacent angles, that word adjacent basically means back to back, two angles that share a side and a vertex. So if we look at these examples that are drawn, you can see that, like if I label this, so I could say that angle 1 and 2 are adjacent because they share a side and they're back to back and they share a vertex. Now if we look at these next two, they are back to back, but look at their vertices. There's a vertex here and there's a vertex here. These are not adjacent because they don't share the same vertex. Yes, they're back to back, but they don't share the same vertex. So this phrase back to back is really kind of, it's not a mathematical phrase. It's just something I'm trying to say to help you take a grasp on it. And so similar like these, the ones that they have marked, these ones are not adjacent because they do share a vertex, but they're not back to back. So these are not adjacent, these are not adjacent, these are adjacent. Two angles which are complementary, their sum is 90 degrees. So they might be adjacent or they might not be, doesn't matter. So angle 1 and angle 2 here, they add up to be 90 degrees. Remember that little square thing? That is a 90 degree. Angle 3 and angle 4 also add up to be 90 degrees. They're not adjacent, but they don't have to be adjacent. If we did stick them together, they would make 90 degrees. Okay, supplementary means their sum is 180 degrees. They might be adjacent, they might not be, doesn't matter. So angles 5 and 6, we add those together, they make 180 degrees. Same thing with 7 and 8. They're not touching, that's okay. They still are going to add up to be 180 degrees. Okay, now we have an example. We have this figure, it has a bunch of different numbers in it. We want to answer the following questions. Name a pair of complementary angles. Remember, complementary is 90, supplementary is 180. One way you might remember it is it's kind of an alphabetical order. So like the lower letter has the lower sum and the higher letter has the higher sum. So a pair of complementary angles would add up to 90 degrees. And so if we look at these numbers, we might have to take out our calculator and find out which ones would add up to 90. But 49 plus 41 does equal 90 degrees. And now we need to name them. And because there are so much going on, we have to use the three letters. So we're going to name them with three letters. So I can say angle FGK and angle GKL are complementary. So FGK is right here, GKL is right here, and they add up to 90 degrees, so they are complementary. Okay, supplementary, again, 180. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to use this one because that's going to get me to 180. And I have to think of, well, if I added this one, would it make 180? If I added this one, would it make 180? Well, 131 plus 49 is going to give me 180 degrees. So once again, I'm going to use the three letters. So angle HGK and angle GKL are supplementary. Okay, the next three questions all ask about adjacent angles. Remember, adjacent angles, that means they're back to back and they share a vertex. So example C, name a pair of adjacent angles. Any that you can find that are back to back and share a vertex. I'm just going to start with this first one, angle FGK, and then I'm going to name one that is adjacent to that. So which one would be adjacent to FGK? Well, I'm going to call it KGH. You could call it HGK. Either way would work. Those are adjacent. So the next question, and I'm going to show you a quick shortcut to this. KGH and LKG, I don't even have to look at the diagram. I know that they're not adjacent because they do not have the same vertex. Let's take a look at what they're even asking for. KGH is right here, and LKG, It's right here, LKG. No, those are not adjacent. They don't share the same vertex. They're not even back to back. They're like overlapping, kind of. They're not adjacent. Okay, the next one they ask about is FGK. So that was the one that we started talking about, FGK, and FGH. Okay, well, they both have a G in the middle, so at least they passed that test. But look, FGK and FGH, no. Like FGH is this one that's up here. No, these are not. These are not adjacent because they don't share a side. FGH is like this kind of longish, super obtuse angle. And then FGH, or FGK, is over here. No, they're not back to back, so they're not. Those are not. Let's turn the page. All right, on this one, they're starting to use these words that are not exactly like the ones we were just looking at, but they're the same root word. And so if they're complement, that means they're complementary. That means their sum, would that be 90 or 180? It's going to be 90. Remember, the smaller letter is a smaller number, whereas the supplement, that one, the sum is 180. All right, so we're going to look at this. We're going to say, given that E is a complement of J, and J is 47, what is E? Well, the definition of complementary is they add up to 90 degrees. So I'm going to say E and J have to add up to 90, but I already know that J is 47. So now I'm ready to solve and find out how much E is. And you can use your calculator on that. Subtract 90 minus 47. I'm showing you like the way to set it up the long way. If you just are able to understand that and do your subtraction, that's okay too. The answer is 43 because 43 plus 47 does equal 90. All right, similar problem here, but now we're saying the sum is 180. So H is a supplement of P. That means that the measure of angle H plus the measure of angle P has to add up to 180 degrees. That's what that first sentence means. And then they say, and the measure of angle H is 47. So I can plug in my 47 here. And again, now I just need to do my subtraction. And so we get the measure of angle P is 133 degrees. Again, it's asking for supplementary. 133 plus 47 does equal 180. We're just going to do two more quick examples. Y and O, and this time they have some variables in them. So Y and O are complementary. That means the measure of angle Y plus the measure of angle O adds up to, complementary is 90 degrees. Okay, they tell us that angle Y is 8x minus 7. And they tell us that O is x minus 11. So now I have to solve this equation. So I have some like terms that I need to add together. That's a 9x, and a negative 7 and a negative 11 is negative 18. So I'm going to add 18 to both sides. And I'm running out of space. I'm going to come over here. So I get 9x is 108. I'm going to divide by 9. I'm going to use my calculator. And I get x equals 12. Now, am I done with the problem? No, because they say find the measure of angle Y and the measure of angle O. So I have to plug those back in. I'm going to take a 12. I'm going to plug it in here, see what I get, and plug it in here and see what I get. All right, kind of silly, but it's 89 degrees and 1 degree. A 1 degree angle is super tiny. That's why I say that's silly. Like a 1 degree angle is minuscule. But it does add up to 90, so it works. Now on the last one, I did not draw a diagram, but if it helps you, you can certainly draw a diagram. So supplementary means they add up to 180, so maybe they look something like this. And so they tell us that angle B is 12x plus 1, and angle Q is x plus 10. And I'm just going to show you on this last one because, again, I didn't draw this in the first place, but maybe it'll help you visualize. If they say that angle y is 8x minus 7, and angle O is x minus 11, and the whole thing has to add up to 90, then we're going to add those two together and set it equal to 90. Okay, so let's go back down to letter D, the one we were working on a second ago. So we have this set up. So in other words, 12x plus 1. Okay, so I have this equation, 12x plus 1, x plus 10 equal 180. I just put those in parentheses so that you can see that those came from here. That's where they came from. And they are supplementary. Supplementary is 180. So if I add my like terms, that's going to give me 13x plus 11. So I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides. That's going to give me 169 over here. I need to divide by 13. And so I get x equals 13. But again, the question is asking about find the measure of angle B and the measure of angle Q. So I'm going to go back here and plug in a 13 here and plug in a 13 here and see what I get. So in this one, I'm going to need a calculator. I'm going to get a 12 times 13 plus 1, and again, I need a calculator for that. So 12 times 13 is 156, and I need to add 1, and that's going to give me 157. Okay, later I'm going to check this with the diagram, so I might just put in 157 over here so that I know. On the other one, again, 13 plus 10 is just going to give me a 23. So this is going to be 23. And so now the question is, well, what is 157 plus 23? Hopefully it's 180. And so yes, on my calculator it does say that those add up to 180. All right, those are our first lesson on the three angle pairs, that is adjacent, supplementary, and complementary.